Good morning again. My name is Tibeb Asfaw. I'm from Ethiopia. A Master's International Development Policy student from Duke. Go Blue. Hi. Um, and I'm a Rotary Peace Fellow. And for the next 12 minutes, I'm going to ask you one of the most uncomfortable questions. And it starts with, okay. No, we don't have a clock. Yes, sorry. And it starts with this. What if we've been building peace all wrong? Think about it. What if all our efforts, the treaties, the diplomacy, the dialogue, what if all starts way, way too late? Questioning everything 3 weeks before graduation. Nice move. But we're here, right? And today we're going to talk about a different foundation for peace, one that has been overlooked for quite some time. It's not a place, it's not a community, it is time, the first 1,000 days of a human life. This journey started in a health clinic in Ethiopia for me. Early in my career, I worked for an international NGO, and we've been treating severely malnourished children. Every children were getting the same exact food. The same protocols were followed to the letter for every single kid. But after a while, a pattern starts to emerge, something that doesn't make any medical sense. Some were bouncing back, healing really fast. Some just weren't. And that left a question with all of us. What are we missing here? The answer actually, wasn't in a syringe or a cabinet. It was right there in the room. These children didn't just need calories. They needed connection, the profound sense of safety that only comes from a consistent, loving human bond. They needed their caregiver too. That left me was one question. If that bond can literally change the child's biology, what else can it change? That question set me on a search for a huge missing piece in what we do, especially this building. I have spent over a decade in humanitarian assistance, development, and peace building. And everywhere I went, I kept hitting the same wall. Caregiving was powerful and present in every community I worked in, but in our platforms, in our frameworks, completely absent. It never got a seat at the table. Let me show you what they kept missing. This is an Ethiopian traditional baby shower. We call it Gat. The woman in red was weeks away from giving birth. And yet, everyone in her community was already there to say to a child who has not yet arrived, you belong, you are already seen, you are loved. Let me ask you this. How many children are welcomed into that kind of safety? And how many weren't? Why has something this foundational, this visible in every community has been so easy for our conventional peace frameworks to overlook? That image, it never left me. And when Rotary Peace Fellow brought me to Duke, I finally had the tools to understand why. I dove into peace frameworks, theories, models, pillars, and boy, we have a lot of those. And when I went through all of them, one thing became obvious. There's one picture that's almost always missing from every single one. Think about when we always picture, when we talk about peace, high-stake negotiations, diplomacy, governance reforms, all crucial. I'm not here to dismiss them, but they all share one same blind spot: the caregiver and the child. They completely ignore how the people inside these systems are built in the first place. They miss the very first foundation of what it takes to be a peaceful human being. Our approach to peace is like an iceberg. We pour all our time, our energy, our money into what we can see, the tip, sticking out of the water. Conflict, military spending, dialogue, negotiations. But underneath, we ignore the stress on a caregiver who is wiring a baby's brain either for fear or for safety. The stability of a family environment. We ignore what's happening in the first 1,000 days. Let me break it down just a little bit. Back. According to the 2025 Global Peace Index, the cost of violence to global economy in 2024 was almost $20 trillion. 20 trillion. And what did the world spend on peace building and peacekeeping to prevent it? Close to $49 billion. That is, for every dollar spent to violence or lost to violence, we are willing to spend close to 6 cents to prevent it. Here are another uncomfortable question for you. Of those $49 billion, how much do you think went to the first 1,000 days or caregiving? Zero. Nothing. There's no budget line for it. Nowhere in the global peace framework architecture does it exist. Not even a rounding error. When you look at our conventional peace architecture, in our models with all their pillars and everything, you can see the flaw clearly. The people pillar is treated like just one piece of the puzzle. It is not seen as foundation of all others, and it starts way, way too late. And peace that begins in kindergarten is already years behind schedule. And this is not just the philosophy that I'm talking about here. I looked at the science too. Harvard Center on Developing Child is very clear about that. Chronic stress in the first 1,000 days physically rewires a child developing brain, empathy, trust, the ability to sit across from an enemy and not reach for a weapon. These may look like soft skills, but they are the architecture of peace, and we lose them in the first 1,000 days. I looked at the economies too. I mean, with $20 trillion on the table, who wouldn't? Nobel Peace Laureate James Lauren proves that for every dollar invested in the first 1,000 days, society gets a return up to $13. $13. He's telling us that this is not just a compassion, rather a smartest investment any one of us could make. This evidence led to my core of my master's project. I called it the Peace Pursuance Model. It does two things that current peace frameworks don't. It treats people at the foundation, and it starts at the beginning, in the first 1,000 days. Level one is secure caregiving, the foundation. This is when a child first learns, is the world safe enough to trust? Level two is the relational trust, the capacity to connect. This is when the skills that would make a peaceful coexistence possible is built. And only then, the one we usually focus on comes to flourish. Institutions, governance, agreements, the parts we all love to fund. But to tell you the truth, you cannot build level 3 without building level 1. Peace follows human development, always. This is what I knew and what I finally understood. For over a decade in Ethiopia, I saw caregiving as a beautiful tradition, something we did because of who we are, because of God. This fellowship and my study at Duke changed everything for me. I realized that what I thought as just tradition is a biological and social prevention. And those first 1,000 days aren't just a medical window. They are peace window. I went from a health clinic asking what we were missing to a baby shower that had known the answer all along to seeing the foundation of a global peace policy. And I know this prevention, this perspective can change everything for Rotary too. Because Rotary already knows this logic. The prevention is your legacy. Think about Paul. You didn't wait for a child to be paralyzed to act. You went to the source. And we are now on the verge of eradicating polio from the face of the earth. How cool is that? And yes, a Rotary Peace Fellow, I'm allowed to brag about that. My argument, the prevention logic must be applied to the roots of violence as well. Violence has its own incubation period as well. It's time to move from a biological prevention to social prevention. So we have the blueprint. How do we start building? 3 things for now. 1, let's reframe our grants. Next time you review a global grant for maternal health or nutrition, ask these 2 questions. Does this project strengthen caregiver-child bond? Does it build social cohesion? If yes, that's a peace project. Fund it, but track it as well. 2, activate our peace centers. Work with universities and peace fellows to prove the return or caregiving for peace in the first 1,000 days. Secure bond in year 1 prevents conflict in year 20. 3, mobilize the network. 1.4 million members, a club in nearly every country. Use it to scale models that start in the first 1,000 days, before the trauma, before the fracture. I'm not suggesting abandoning to what we've been doing so far. What I'm suggesting is let's do it early. Well, a lot early. This is how we build. But let me leave you with the why. Everything a child experiences is internalized. What they carry inside is what they bring out into the world. People are built, peace is built on people, and people are built early. And if peace has a starting point, it starts there. Thank you.